Hello, facilitators, and welcome into another video on the Waves of Communication channel. My name is Marci Melzer. I'm an intuitive speech language pathologist and virtual autism expert. I'm here as a consultant for anyone who's interested to learn more about how parents are the best facilitators, and the problem of speech delay is able to be solved by parents who are using the right kinds of strategies. I have been using natural functional language facilitation as a rule with thousands of families when I was working as a therapist, and now I am here sharing this online. So today's video, usually my Thursday live video goes out to Facebook and YouTube, and it's able to be shared with a lot more people, but Facebook doesn't believe I'm real because I'm using a streaming software. So this is mostly for YouTube, and those of you who have migrated over here from Facebook, thank you so much for accommodating, making the shift over here to YouTube to watch me. So I know that all of that being said, we might have a fewer people on the live, and most of you are on the replay. So I'll be talking about that way. So thank you for joining me, those of you who are here today. This is today's topic. I'm going to be talking about 5 things that you need for functional speech to develop. So as I was just mentioning, I am an expert, meaning I have used this strategy successfully with thousands of children. And I know that the secret to its success is when parents are actually the primary facilitator. As a speech therapist, I only saw families once a week, or maybe even more, less frequently than that. It was just a consultant basis because most of my clients were on someone else's caseload to do developmental therapy, because there were very few speech therapists available in the county early steps program that I was working in, and I had to see everybody. And so the only families that I could really help were the families that decided to take my advice in between the times they saw me and do the work. And that's what I'm hoping that you're able to do today. And in order to really be a successful facilitator and take that job, these are the 5 things that you need. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's go ahead and get into it while I get myself recombobulated. I always want to start. I love to start when I get messages almost every day from parents that are using the strategies and seeing some real improvement. And so Sarah just is sharing. She's been watching the videos on YouTube, and she's a mother of an 8-year-old nonverbal son who, found my strategies after trying a lot of other things, obviously by 8 years old. And this family is getting more speech. So that's because when it works, families are using the things that I'm going to be talking about today. And these 5 requirements, so they're not necessarily things, but they are requirements, things you need for success with natural facilitation. I'm going to go through each one of the 5, and for each one of the 5, I'm going to talk to you about what is involved in each one of these requirements. And then I'm going to expand about why the requirement is necessary, because there is a needed component of natural language facilitation in each one of these 5 components, these 5 requirements, and the strategies that I'm going to give you, some actual practical strategies to go ahead and implement that requirement. So it's going to be important that you learn how to not just access these things. These aren't things you can go buy on Amazon. These are things that you are creating with your own self. And if you have not signed up for my newsletter and free Get Started guide, this is one of my really big, I can't appeal to you more that this is the number one thing that you should do, even if you're watching videos for the first time today, or you've been watching them for a while. If you haven't visited the website to get this free Get Started guide, It gives you the foundational strategies, how to reconnect, how to change your language models just enough to prove how successful you can be. And once you're in that mindset, then you're going to be able to really grasp and use these other things. So if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, I just want to appeal to you to head over. It's free because I want you to be started so we're all on the same page. It really helps when the community is like-minded and we can support each other, and I can support you as we go through. So also my workbook, if you haven't investigated this resource, this is the written out workbook. It is for you to write in and work through and develop your own plan. This is the proven process that includes all the things that we have. But even if you have the workbook and you don't include all of these 5 things, then you're gonna be in trouble. So here we go. This is number 1. What do we need for success? This comes from the late talker's perspective, and late talkers need a facilitator who is prepared to equip and empower them. And you look at these little images, these are not parents who are therapizing, who are forcing, who are, whatever. They're relating and responding and demonstrating and teaching and assisting and coaching, right? Because they need a facilitator to equip and empower them. And so many of the experiences that they have had so far, when you look at your child's previous experience, where were they learning? It wasn't necessarily with a facilitator that was prepared to equip and empower them. Maybe they were just caring for them, or maybe they were therapizing them and trying to make them do things and using exchange-based strategies. But this is what late talkers need, is this, a facilitator. So this is your first choice, is to become your child's facilitator. And let's talk about that, what that entails, right? So this is what it looks like. It looks like parents assisting children through life, just like parents do. But this is what's involved in a facilitator's mindset. So you have to show up ready to be the child's facilitator. And it takes, number 1, an intuitive connection to see life through the child's experience, through their eyes, okay? And you have to trust that you can do what it takes to help your child. That's why I remind you to go ahead and get that free Get Started guide, because unless you believe and trust that you can do this and believe that your child can and will learn from you when you figure out how to do it properly, then that's the mindset we're looking for. And then even after you get that, you have to have patience to allow the speech to emerge, naturally and functionally with language that your child needs. Okay. So this is what's involved in a facilitator's mindset. And then what we're going to look next is, why it's really important that you have this, because listen, it won't work unless you do, because a late talker, for this natural facilitation process to work, these late talkers need a facilitator who knows them better than anyone. That's why, even though I use this with thousands of families, only the families where the parents decided to become a facilitator were the families that consistently saw success. And so what that means, this person who knows them better than anyone is someone who understands them, no matter how they're communicating, if it's, with their behavior or with words or scripts or needs-based or whatever, but you understand even the messages behind their eye rolls and behavior. You get them. And they need someone who's confident to equip them, not just understand them and become afraid. Oh no, he's doing this behavior again, that behavior again. You have to be confident in your intuitive connection to go, oh no, he needs me to help him with something because he's showing me behavior to let me know he's struggling. Right? And you have to be confident to be the one to equip them and not just solve the problem for them. This is a facilitator mindset, not a caregiver. I mean, we know you love this child more than anybody, but they need someone to equip them and empower them. So that's someone who's motivating. You're not depressed when they flap their hands that they're so excited. You join them in their excitement about the topic of their excitement. This is motivating to a child and empowers them to expand out of the flapping and lining up or whatever scripted behaviors they're using into something more functional, because you're empowering them through motivation. You're not judging those things as symptoms or wrong or stuff you need to change. And this child needs someone who is helpful through challenges, doesn't judge or just clean up the mess behind them, or whatever. This is helpful to resolve and work through these challenges. And this is why this requirement is the number one, because without this, your child is just going to be stuck manipulating you, because you're going to be stuck manipulating your child. Now, here are the strategies to keep that facilitator mindset going, right? You have to think about what you think about. That's a mindset. And then also what you're doing as a result of this mindset, what you're saying. So, number one is you have to talk about what you do know about your child, not about what you think it might be, or suspect, or worry about their future, or worry about their past. You got to talk about what you do know. You do know your child is better today than yesterday because you've been using strategies. And you are excited about this because, like this person just bought the book. I can't wait to read it. So if you're already in the mindset of, I'm ready to figure this out, I want to do this, then in the workbook, you're going to have to journal your experience and find out what's blocking progress, because unless you realize what's blocking the progress, you can't overcome those blockages and watch the natural speech emerge. And number three is connection, right? So this is how you're going to do this. You're going to really connect with this child before you try to facilitate any kind of performance or speech or understanding or following directions or answering questions. You're just going to connect so you get back to that understanding who they are, understanding their messages, understanding their struggles, understanding their challenges, understanding what gets them excited, connecting and showing with what you talk about, what you do know. Whoa, you get really excited when you play in the puddles. We're going to have to do more things that involve water. All of these things. This is the connection that gets you to the place where the speech can emerge, right? Without this mindset and this connection, it's not, like I said, it's a requirement. You won't see, you'll keep waiting for the improvement. And number four is you would work with challenges consistently until you overcome them. And that means if you're potty training and that's your thing, or getting your child to eat by themselves, or getting your child to sit and wait for things, or getting them to understand when you say no, that means no, and adhere to new boundaries because you haven't used any so far. Like, you're making big changes in establishing structure, all those things we're going to be talking about in the next four things that you need for language to emerge. Before any of that happens, this level of connection and understanding has to be firmly established. Some parents, depending on how long prompted experiences or phone time where the child has chosen to disconnect from you or people teaching them because they don't like it or it's not valuable, to get the thing that they believe is more valuable, which could be the device or the books or other things they're obsessed on. Because remember, if your child shifts away from one obsession into another and that obsession is not you, that's where you need to go back to this number one before you try any of the other things I'm going to talk about. Okay, this is the number one because it is the number one. You won't see progress without it. And I'm going to talk to you more about why that looks this way. Okay, so these are the strategies to keep a facilitator's mindset. And then you can actually gauge how well you are connected, how well your mindset is. Connection is the next one, right? But your mindset, you can actually gauge. And when you look at all of these level charts come from my workbook. So let me pull this back. This is the workbook here. It's under two different titles. I'll show you at the end. You can get it on Amazon. In the workbook are these level charts. So every day you can analyze for yourself, what is my level of mindset? Because you'll move up and down this scale depending on triggers and all of these other things that happen in your world, okay? And if you are below the line, if you're discouraged, overwhelmed, or stuck in old habits, or even focusing on old habits and the things that used to be happening in your life because you're making change now, right? The speech progress won't happen. It only happens when you move above the line. Okay, so this is how you're going to know in the workbook. You're going to gauge it every single day so that you're consistently paying attention. All right, so the next thing that is a requirement for language facilitators is you need a plan for language facilitation success. It doesn't, I know it happens naturally, but it does not happen without a structured, organized plan, because the plan is more for you. Remember, I'm a parent coach and I don't work directly with the child, but if you look at any kind of preschool or even early learning situation, these teachers, these classroom teachers, have a firm plan about what's going on. And that's just not for the teacher to stay organized. It's also so the children know what to expect, when they have to show up and work hard, when it's time for them to relax and have fun, when they have to turn their listening ears on. All of that stuff is really important for you to communicate in your structured plan. And that's why we're going to talk about what is involved in this. Okay. So facilitators definitely need a plan for language facilitation success. And how that plan looks and how you write it down is going to be different for every parent. Excuse me. So here's what it is. It's a dedicated facilitation time every day. This is what your plan is consisting of. And it must include, this is the requirement for enough facilitation time. Hang on, just gonna take a drink. Sorry about that. Okay, so number one here is 2 to 3 hours every single day of focused facilitation time. In order to see language develop, you need dedicated time every day to focus on giving your child the language they have missed. And the number one requirement is that it takes 2 to 3 hours every day of focused facilitation time. It doesn't happen all in one 2 to 3 hour chunk. It happens all through your daily experiences. And number two is these functional experiences with personal value. Just the time that you put together can't be made up things that you think are going to be fun or good for your child. They're functional experiences with personal value both to you and to your child. And then 50% of these experiences need to be one-on-one, where it is just you and the child at least an hour and a half every single day, speaking to them with language models that they can learn from. Not things they already know, but new language that they can learn from, at least 50% in one-on-one experiences. That's why you've got to carve out this time so that you make sure you are providing the extra language that your child needs to develop beyond the level of communication where they are right now. And it involves a planned itinerary. That's why I'm telling you, you need a plan of opportunities and activities that will give you the, again, opportunity to use this expanded language that your late talker needs to hear. Okay. And then here's how, why it's super important. This is why they need it. I already talked a little bit about it, but full-time facilitation, you need a minimum of 3 to 6 months to learn a language properly. So you need a plan that you're able to sustain for a long time. It's not going to happen. Nobody learns language in a month. They might start talking and using some phrases and things like that within a month or even 3 to 6 weeks for sure. But they're not going to be confident enough to use this language out in the community, to make friends with all of their people, the people you want them to be talking to, not for at least 3 to 6 months, depending on how much language they have today. And then number two, you're going to have to maintain your priority responsibilities. So, for example, if you work or you're the breadwinner for your family, this is a priority and you have to maintain this. You can't just take a break forever from work, maybe a short-term thing, excuse me, but you won't see the kind of progress that you need unless you are also able to maintain these responsibilities. Because if you put these responsibilities off to focus on your child and then they come back up again, what are you going to do? You're not able to focus on your child at the same time you're maintaining these priority responsibilities. That's why you need a plan. And these responsibilities are different for every family. Number three is to maintain personal relationships for support. Again, you might be wanting to focus 150% on your child, but that's not reality, and it takes a village to raise a child. So, in your plan, you're going to have to plan for long term, plan to maintain what you've got to do, and also plan to take care of the people that, or have get people around that can help take care of you. And then number four is to plan to give up whatever's blocking progress unless you decide these things are not working. If your child, I'm just going to pull this back, if your child has been in a therapy for 3 months, 6 months, or longer, and you're not seeing progress, it is okay, 100% okay, to take a break from that experience. Even if your child loves the teacher, it fits in your insurance plan, you don't pay anything out of pocket, your focus, the reason you're here is because you want your child to make functional improvement in their spoken language, and keeping them in situations that don't facilitate at least 1% of functional speech improvement every day, right? Then you can replace that with something better to get the progress going that you want. Remember, these are the requirements. If you want to see progress, you have to change, and that change includes especially giving up anything that's not working. I can't say that enough. These people will tempt you and bribe you and all kinds of things, offer you the sun and the moon and stars to keep your kids in the clinic. But if it is not working, you need to plan to give up whatever's not, if it's not. That's blocking your progress. If it's not working, it's wasting your time. Okay, so here's how you're going to implement this stuff, folks. These are the strategies to meet the time requirement for natural language emergence. Number one, you have to profile your priorities every 3 weeks. In my workbook, I give you profile pages. You can do it in a journal, but you need, these priorities will change and you'll have new things that come up. And so you're going to have to figure out how to keep these priorities, again, managed in your schedule. And they're your child's priorities as well as yours. You're also going to teach through challenges via 1% daily improvement. So if your child isn't potty trained or eating at the table or doing, whatever you need them to do, these challenges that are disrupting your day and making it hard for you to meet your other priorities, this is where you have to dig in. And you're going to put these challenges in your schedule as the thing for you to work through and teach. And then your itinerary, it's a whole plan from sun up to sundown that includes both the jobs you have to do and the fun things you want to do. And lay it out so kids know when to expect to show up and work hard, and also when to expect to show up and have a great time, where they won't be expected to work hard because they know when a break comes that they'll have a break, as long as you allow them to have their break and have their fun too. Nobody wants to work 24/7. And number four is to recruit family and friends to take over and expand these facilitation activities. Remember, it does take a village. You're going to need somebody around. And if you can't find, if there's no one in your family, your partner's working too much, all of that stuff, you can hire an assistant and get them trained. I'm going to talk to you about how that works at the end of the video. So you do need assistance. It's very challenging for one person to do this on their own. They have good teachers, they have good daycare providers, they have good parents or nannies or cousins or sisters or even other siblings that you can pass off some of this time for, so that you can have a break, focus on the other priorities you have to focus on, including your own self-care. It's really, really important that you have this. It is a requirement, because you're not going to meet the time requirement of 2 to 3 hours a day if you're putting out fires from other priorities that aren't managed. Okay, so that's why you need a plan, and those are the strategies. Now, remember, this is all about connection, and how are you going to 2 to 3 hours connect with the lay talker? And in the workbook, you can see these connection levels to understand if your child, because this is from your child's perspective, are they choosing to connect with you, or are they afraid, confused, or they understand what's going on, but they don't like it, so they're leaving? This is fight or flight below the line. And above the line is they're at least curious about what you have and happy and excited and all of that stuff. And so this is what's necessary, right? When you plan your itinerary, it's an itinerary of connected activities from sunrise to sunset that get you through your day. Yes, of course, but in a connected way. In a connected way. So, somebody wants to know, can you give examples of schedules and activities to do? It varies from every family. So, your examples of activities to do could be anywhere from waking up and brushing teeth, choosing your clothes, having your morning meal, who's preparing that morning meal, are they talking about that experience? These are things you have to do. Commuting, wearing shoes, and then surrounding all of these functional activities that you put into your schedule, there are ways to teach it from preparation to execution to cleanup, right? It's not, you're not setting up these things for your child to show up and do. It's cooperative. That's why the connected activity is the key to this experience. If it's not, if it's just you either making your child do something because they have to do it without teaching them to be independent in that skill, like brushing their teeth, combing their hair, choosing their clothes, getting dressed, whatever they struggle with, not getting the right thing, not holding the toothbrush enough, not liking the taste of the toothpaste, playing around in the bathroom instead of taking it seriously. This is your facilitation activity because you find it important for your child to brush their teeth. So you're making that situation happen right now in a way. This is your opportunity to change and shift it from this situation a to a functional learning situation, from a prompted, guided, manipulated situation to get through the activity to something functional where every day your child gets better and better and better at that skill. So after 100 days or less, because they might make leaps and bounds improvement once they figure it out. This is what you usually find out. But at the beginning, they might be like, I don't even want to do it. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. That learned helplessness, that lack of connection. First, you have to get the connection with the child and get them to see this teeth brushing activity as valuable as you do. And you make it easy, you make it happy, you make it feel safe, and you make it feel fun, right? Each one of these things that you do in your day, every day. And I'm going to show you in the following strategies about how to do that. But these activities these are things you have to do. You have to sit at the table to eat. How are you going to make that more appealing and interesting for your child to do? All the ways that you make that happen. You entice your child to sit. You talk about the yummy food. You put a boundary to say food's only available at the table. All these things that you do involves the language that your child is going to learn from. It's not just teach them about the nouns and verbs of, if we're sitting at the table, I'm eating with my spoon and putting the food in my mouth and chewing it. Your child already knows that language. They want to see you doing that things and using the other language that they don't know yet to expand upon it. Ooh, that looks yummy. Can I have a bite of your paratha? Yummy. Would you like to try this new thing? It's super spicy. Get ready. All of this language that children would learn at a restaurant if they weren't looking at a tablet, or at a family dinner where everybody's talking and sharing food. And then conversation where you talk about your day and your experiences, all of that. These are the activities and opportunities that you can put into your schedule. And then, of course, the fun things that your child wants to do: going to the park, riding a bike, watering the plants, playing in the water, here where it's getting super hot around the world, having everyday outdoor play with the hose and the sprinklers and swimming pools and all of those things. These are the activities that you put into your schedule, and it varies for every family. That's why it's important that you do a profile. The profile pages in the workbook you have to do them before you set your itinerary and even do your analysis, because you have to figure out, what is my child actually struggling with? What are they great at? What's frustrating them about their experience in life that I can make easier, happier, safer, and more fun? Okay, this is your job in the schedule, but without a schedule of, oh, when we go to the park, I can practice language that way. But because we're going to take a walk instead of ride in the car, and we're going to talk about everything we see, even if it gets too hot, we're going to make sure we take water so that we don't get too hot on our walk to the park. And if he gets tired, we're going to talk about what to do when we get tired, and all of that stuff. And then if it's too long to walk, we're going to practice riding the scooter, right? And how we can get there faster when we ride the scooter or ride a bicycle, and introduce these things that your child wants to do with new tools and strategies that make it better. And that's actually what we're going to be moving into next. So I hope that makes sense to you. You know what to do. Whatever you do, you already do these things every day. And what you need to do is change that to make them all in a very connected activity. So those of you who are watching either live or on the replay, please hit that like button right now and consider sharing this video around, because my Facebook's down and I want more people to see it. All right, let's move into the next requirement, okay? Facilitators, in order to pull this off and plan a whole day full of activities, you need attractive materials to replace tech, because remember, your child with a device, potentially in this virtual autism group of folks, had hours and hours a day where they were just with the device and scanning through, watching videos, swiping through the likes, shifting between applications, playing with, Roblox and all the mini games, whatever they were doing, right? They were filling hours and hours and hours of their time, and they were content with whatever they saw on the screen. In order to pull them out of that highly attractive activity, you have to have some nice things to show your child. And the good news is they don't even know how good these 3D experiences can be. Because you grew up in a time when you didn't have phones. You have to go back to your childhood and think about what it was that you did to fill your time. Remember, that's why the videos came first, was to fill time. So your late talker needs you to use attractive materials and experiences. So we see the scooter, we see the bubbles, we see the paint, we see the outside playing in the mud, sitting in the water, whatever you have to do, because late talkers, they need something super attractive to choose you over tech, okay? And this is what is involved. Materials that inspire curiosity, creativity, and learning. And it doesn't necessarily have to be stuff that you buy on Amazon or Temu or at the local toy store. Every single day, you use tools that solve problems and make life easier. The rice cooker, the microwave, the mat outside that collects the dirt so you don't have to clean the house too much, the broom you use to clean up the dirt that the shoes drug in the house. All of these tools are materials that inspire curiosity, creativity, and learning. And then the next category of things that you need is materials to practice and expand your child's interests. So again, if they like to walk, they like to go outside, they like to travel and go places, teaching them to ride a bicycle is an amazing tool that will help them practice and expand their interests. If they love space, you find things that are space related. If they love ABCs and numbers, you give them phonics things to practice and ways to expand. Just A is for apple, or A says to how to build words and make sentences and spell their name. Practice and expand their interests and abilities, no matter what they are. As long as, remember, we are in a cooperative situation. Number 3, this is toys and equipment needed for new experiences. So if your child is going to school, they need new backpack and back to school clothes and clothes that they only wear for special occasions, dress up dresses or costumes that you wear for weddings and special dress up clothes. Even when you go traveling, you need to get equipment, sun hats to wear to the beach, and sunscreen and goggles for the pool, and all of these things that you never did before. But we need to get equipment, and you can talk about the acquisition of this equipment, the use. We're going to talk about how to use it, but this is what's involved. And then you also need novel items that entertain, surprise, and inspire curiosity. Okay, so this is where you're going to have to come up with things that will get them out of screens. Remember, things that make their life easy and help them get what they want, tick. Things that help them expand what they love, tick. Things that are, inspire them to go to new places and new learn things, tick. And novel items, surprise things, toys, giggle things, things that are silly or disgusting or whatever that you see, and you check it out and learn about. When for example, we were at the aquarium and they had egg casings from baby sharks where they had a light shining through and you can actually see the baby shark moving in there, and that was a really cool tool, right? Just this egg casing with the light in this tank that we could see the baby shark moving in the egg casing was super cool. And these tools help us learn. Aquariums, these are places where, how do they keep these animals in there? How do they feed them? They use a long stick, describing how tools are used in things when you go visit places. How do they feed these animals, lions and tigers? What do they feed them with? How do they protect themselves? When you go to the beach, even to see, like, oh no, why is the red flag flying? Because there's, algae in the water, or the surface too high and we can't go in the water right now, or dangerous animals have been spotted, or something like that. Learning and following and curiosity things. You're going to hear the siren. That's a new tool. Storm sirens that we hear in the United States through the Midwest, they've been going off like crazy because they're tools for us to make actions and respond, keep us safe, keep us happy. This is what I'm talking about when we talk about tools. And instead of just guiding your child through things, you're going to teach them how to use these tools. It gives you something to talk about and teach that's easy because it applies to all these functional situations. So here is why they need these attractive tools. We already talked about this, but this is how you're going to find ones that are attractive. Number one, personal items that match their preferences. If they like pink or blue or red or superheroes or sparkle, whatever, this or that, then you get them personal items, pajamas, bed sheets, toothbrushes, things like that. I would avoid books and videos, but toys, that they could pretend play with, that's fine. You just don't want them to replace 2D experience with 2D experience. These are 3D things. The shirt you wear that has Peppa Pig or princesses on it or whatever. And then number two is the tools that you have and use already every day in your home. Like we talked about, the rice cookers and the things that you already have to make life easier. This is what really, like I said, it's a tick for them. They like making life easier. Kids do. These are super smart kids and they can learn to use helpful tools very quickly. The wash machine, the garden hose, right? They learn exactly how it works and how to follow rules because they want you to do these things more. They want to learn from them and they want to learn how to use them properly. And then there's these tools that help regulate or solve a problem. And this can be anywhere from your wiggle seat for the child to be able to sit in, the sensory toys they need, your squishies, your chewing, all those things. That's regulation. These are tools that you need to help your child regulate. The swings, they could be tools or opportunities, right? But remember, it's replacing. Your child's been regulated, getting their dopamine hit from a screen. How are you going to get them to have a dopamine hit? Where are you going to let them jump or run or get excited about something, get those surprise toys, those cause and effect things, teach them how to use the ruler that sticks out and you let it go and it retracts in, how all those things work in the world. That's functional ways to teach these things. And it's necessary, right? And it's got to be so attractive that they're interested to explore it instead of watching a video, right? You don't even need to use videos. Just teach these things because they're things that you know, right? And solve a problem is, what do we do because your new, your shirt with, or let's say your underwear, right? You've got underwear that you've got with special characters on that you're using as an incentive to potty train. And oh no, there's an accident and they get dirty. How are we going to clean them? We've got to put them in the wash machine. These are tools that make life, oh no, it's not the end of the world if something breaks. We got these tools to fix it. This is really important language for your late talkers, to keep them talk about how the tool helps them regulate, talk about how the tool helps them solve a problem, okay? And these materials that promise a fun or exciting experience, even if you just show them the brochure from the aquarium where you're going to be going. I know that's a 2D experience, but these are materials that they can read about and learn about. Or if you watch a travel video about somebody who's, visiting the aquarium before you go, and so you can point out and make your plan together. Oh, look, there's sharks. We're going to see the sharks. Oh, look, there's this. I do that myself before I visit a place to see if there's enough things there that are going to interest me to spend the money on the admission ticket. If you've done the same, do it together with the late talker, because remember, you've got to prove that this place you're going to take them, this toy you're going to buy them, this thing that you're going to offer them is valuable. Now, it's really important the next slide we talk about, because once you get these attractive things, these late talkers could want to take them and run and play with them by themselves. So you really need to pay attention to these strategies to incorporate materials successfully. How you're going to introduce and incorporate these super fun and useful things so the late talker doesn't say, oh, I see, it's a rice cooker. I'm going to figure out my way to do it. I'm going to take this beautiful toy and go play by myself in the rules. Remember, the idea is to keep these things cooperative so that you can use these tools and experiences to teach language, so that your child is staying there, listening to you teach them, watching you learn, you're watching them, you're coaching them while they're doing it, and all the while they're listening to you provide language models that they can learn from, functional language models. Okay, so this is how it works. You introduce all materials with the rules and boundaries around them. This is a new cookie we're going to have. We can each have one. This is the power tools. Like, I use the sharp knives, you use the dull knives. I'll cut it, you scoop it, all of that kind of thing. This is what we're going to do. We're going to use these tools, but this is how it's going to go down. Because of safety, we're going to teach about that too. But remember, this is how we do it. You can use it for this much time. You can use it for this much effort. This, you're going to have to push really hard when you do this, because it's a thick putty and we've got to squeeze it, use all your muscles. All the rules and boundaries around why and how they can have access to this thing. And number two, then you're explaining, how is this tool solving a problem? How is it keeping you regulated? How is it keeping you busy? How is it entertaining you? How is it fixing it? How is it cleaning it? How is it, whatever. And then you're going to allow the child to choose. And this is before you give them access, right? Look, this is the thing we need to clean up this mess. Let me show you how to do it. And then let them choose and use their own materials with physical guidance. You take the broom, you take the toothbrush, grab your toothbrush. I'm going to grab mine, you grab yours. And if they choose the wrong one or choose one that isn't, you let them try that thing and see how it fails. Trial and error, because you're letting them choose their own, because maybe you don't believe they're going to make a good choice. That means you didn't explain properly the guidelines and rules around this thing. You said, you can have a choice of these 2 shirts. You can have a choice of these 5 spoons. You can have a choice of these 2 snacks. You don't make an unlimited choice. You structure and boundaries around anything you give them, but whatever they can, you allow them to choose. And then you teach the rules and safety guidelines. Anything risky, that comes at the beginning. You don't not give your child the risky thing because you're afraid they're going to hurt. And you don't also just tell them that, this is, I have to use this and you just have to watch me, right? If you want to teach them, you teach them how to use things safely. Uh-oh, hang on a second. Got to slide up here. So, yeah. All right. So this is, again, how we're going to take care of all that. Now, this is the level where you're going to see how well the late talker is following directions and understanding and able to take, because remember, they have to be connected. And then when they're connected, they're going to take and use the information that you're teaching them. How does this life work? Okay. And you'll see if your child is not connecting to teach you how to do, they always want to take the thing and run away, then you see their connection is below the line. And it could be because of the strategies that they're using and you're using, right? Remember, this is how you're going to see how well they're understanding. If they're below the line, they're just like aware you're in the room, but they're not focused enough to learn anything. They're just smiling and looking at you and not interested in picking it up and trying it for themselves. But with joint attention and first listening, at least they're looking at the same thing you're looking at, but they're still dependent on you to do everything. It's just prompt dependent. They're just watching. This is why kids go to the playground and they don't engage with other kids, because their comprehension of language, they can't answer all these questions and do all this stuff. They're just beginning to listen and learn and memorize the vocabulary they like. And then when they get to teaching and discernment, that's when they understand what you're saying, but they're testing you or manipulating you because you're testing them or manipulating them. This is parents that are stuck in prompt dependence and prompt avoidance at level 3. And then once you get to level 4, they're following directions, they're obeying rules, they're sticking with your boundaries and all of that stuff. And all the strategies I just gave you are the strategies you'll use to pull your child's level of attention, focus, and listening, right, to the level where their functional spoken language understanding moves above this fight or flight, testing, discern, I'm not sure I like what you're saying. It's not for me. No, thank you. Again, puts them in detachment. And that's why the line is here, because when the child is in their own mind, still trying to figure out what the heck is going on because there's not somebody explaining to them, they're going to be stuck below the line. And so that's what we want for you, is to move past all of that. Okay. So then we're moving into our next area of things that you need. And facilitators need to help late talkers focus on the shift from communication behavior to speech. So remember, all of your late talkers are using communication behavior, and you're guessing what's going on. Oh, he's jealous, he's bored, she's excited, he's angry, and you're trying to, take care of that. So you need them to focus on what it takes to shift this behavior into spoken language. And remember, this behavior doesn't come because a child is unable to label things, right? It becomes because when they don't get what they want, they can't communicate. All right. So this is what's involved in this requirement of focused, expanded language models that are valuable to the child. You could be talking more, but if it's not valuable to the child, then they're not going to learn from it. And so this is where we go. Number 1, the language for the soundtrack to their visual thoughts, especially these children with virtual autism. If your child's a visual learner, they're making shows in front of their face. They're building visuals that they want, that they miss from all that stuff. Whatever they're thinking about and doing, that's the expanded language models that they need, the soundtrack to their visual thoughts. And number 2 is technical vocabulary and explanation, not just what is it, why is it called this, what is it used for, why is it something you can have or not. The explanation for every idea. Oh, let's try to stick a fork in the light socket. Ooh, not a good idea, right? All the technical reasons and explanations that ideas are good, ideas are not good, why we can explore more of them. And then number 3 is the problem solving and negotiation, because remember, these children are already using nonverbal language to negotiate with you. If it's the scream, if it's the grab it out of your hand and run out of the room, they're telling you that they want a different contract, or they're not willing to follow the rules. And these are the problem solving and negotiation skills that you will be doing all through your day. You'll be teaching the language needed for these. And then number 4 is demonstration and coaching for collaborative learning. Again, so the child isn't allowed to take their learning all by themselves, because you're encouraging and attracting and keeping them with you. They don't choose, right? Because remember, they're choosing to connect with you. It's not that you're not allowing them. You are being so attractive that they choose you, and it has to be super consistent, just like we talked about with that plan. So this is what's involved, the kind of language you need to be expected to use, okay? And here's why you need to be and how it's going to come out of your mouth. All right. It's going to come out when you help late talkers focus on speech by giving them the speech, right? Realistic storytelling to realize visual experiences. That means, again, that soundtrack. You're going to say, wow, you're really bored. You don't want to sit and read magazines with me. You want to go outside. You wish you were watching videos. And so we need to find something just as fun to do with you. This is the visual experience or the mind thought, the mindset of the child. And this is the realistic storytelling I'm talking about. And then when you do demonstrate something, you need to plan ahead how you're going to demonstrate these multi-step activities. Just like I'm giving you 5 steps here. How are you going to teach that lesson? Where all the 3 steps, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this, let's go try it. How are you going to do that unless you've thought through that process ahead, organized it yourself so that in your itinerary of time you've got a planned lesson. And that lesson stays the same and expands as your child's needs expand while they make improvements. So on day 1, you teach the intro, you demonstrate, you see how much your child's able to do. Then you talk about the next day, how much they're able to do. And here's the next step by step by step by step. You step 1 and step 2, you're perfect at. You're still struggling with step 3. Let's go through them again. Step 1, you're perfect at it. Step 2, and this is what I do with you on these videos. It might seem monotonous for me to review these things with you and have these organized things, but otherwise, how would you understand how important the concept is, and how would I make sure that all the details get into the videos? Okay. It's planned ahead. You have to plan ahead. You are the facilitator. You're the one who's in charge. You're the headmaster. You're the teacher. You're the program director. You're in charge of the content that this child's receiving. Okay. So negotiation of responsibilities and benefits for all. I know that you want to take this video and play all by yourself, but I'd be sad because I want to play with you. I miss you when you play all by yourself. I want to have those things with me. And then you see if the child is like, wow, I'm really annoying you. I've been talking so much. You need a break from me. Benefits for all. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We all need to be taken care of in this relationship, okay? And then this established and consistent review of rules and boundaries. This concept that most lay talkers don't have is with privilege comes responsibility. And if you have, or your child has been in a prompt heavy situation where there's been lots of, you can do this if you do this, and you're just making those rules up yourself. You can have video time after this, and then maybe you're consistently giving it or not, because when you give them 2 minutes of video time, then they start crying and they want 5 minutes of video time. So now next time you're not going to give them video time at all, because you haven't established the ability to negotiate having nice things sometimes. Okay. And this comes from children that are prompt dependent. They're so busy focused on when can I get that reward and how long can I keep it, that they're not learning from their everyday experiences. And this is why the concept of with privilege comes responsibility, and also with responsibility comes privilege. So that's usually what you're saying is otherwise with responsibility comes privilege. You're usually putting that first. But the reality is you're already giving the privilege, but you're not being consistent with the responsibility, potentially. This is what's required. Like I said, if you're struggling, these could be things that you need to change. Okay. Now I've got to give you some strategies in order to do this. And so this is how you're going to provide better speech and language models than you are right now. And number 1 is you're going to talk more slowly with age appropriate language models. Don't talk down to your child's expressive language level, talk above it. Just speak slowly and carefully so they can understand everything that you're saying. And if they look at you with a confused face, then just repeat yourself and explain it again. Don't underestimate these kids. This is their biggest problem, and they need someone, their facilitator, to give them more language to learn from. Number 2, this is how you're going to do it. It's going to come out of your mouth when you tell stories to match the visual ideas and abstract thoughts that you, as this intuitive, connected facilitator, understand are going on in this child's head.
You watch them play with things, you see them react to situations, even you know what's going on in their mind, and you have to start telling more stories. And then you have to talk about feelings, talk about your feelings, talk about the feeling of the little boy whose mom wouldn't let him have chocolate at the grocery store. Talk about the other kids that are ignoring your child because they don't want to talk at the playground. Talk about how grandma doesn't care and she wants to kiss you anyway, whether you don't like her touching you or not. You have to talk about everyone's feelings. Your child's going to decide whether they connect or engage with all those people, and they will choose more when you understand their feelings. And then number 4 is that you have to share everything that you are thinking, feeling, and planning at the time you're doing it. And this is how you're going to use this with these late talkers. Okay. So, this video is getting longer because I just keep giving details, but I want you to understand. And remember, for functional speech levels, there is also a chart in my workbook. So I can see how valuable you have to see how valuable your language models must be. Because if your child is just parroting or saying the same things, or they're just stuck in functional needs-based speech and they're not moving forward, that proves that you need to get more valuable to the child with your language models for them to choose to move up this scale towards language that they can use with everybody else at level 5 and 6. Okay. And my workbook has foundational help. It's available on Amazon and Notion Press in Asia. And so this is the proven process to naturally help red flag behaviors shift into functional speech. You can see it under 2 titles. It's the same workbook. It's just available different places in the world because of monetary stuff and Amazon. So look for the workbook. The link is in the description of this video if you want to find it, or you can find it on wavesofcommunication.com. Now, number 5, the last requirement for parents to find success with natural language facilitation is that you need support. And you need support to maintain consistency through all of the blockage, because while the strategies seem super easy to do, staying consistent is the most challenging experience. And all of these feelings are part of the journey. You can feel excited and frustrated. And in order to ride through all of the judgment and shame and propaganda that you read on Google and all of this stuff, to maintain consistency through those blockages, here's what's involved. Number 1, conversational speech takes many months to develop. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen as fast as you want it because you want speech to be here yesterday. Okay. So realizing that you're in this for the long haul and functional language never stops developing, even when you're an adult, this is something you need to plan for. Okay. And so you're going to have support. You cannot do it alone. Families who are in multilingual households can already expect delays because these kids are already later talking. And as long as you decide to teach both language, which I do highly recommend, you'll see in the thing that it is going to come slower and you need to be patient. You'll see. And then mindset damaging triggers will happen in your world. People are going to judge you. The people are going to say unkind things. There are many, many people in the world that will do this to you and your child and will make you feel sad because they're just projecting their own inner sadness onto you. And they think that they're trying to be better than you in some way. So they have to put you down. And so that can really damage a parent, especially when that comes from a professional. And then, of course, natural speech development is very inconsistent. So if you're too focused on the outcome, when's the outcome going to happen? And with all the ups and downs that happen in this process, you could be suffering a lot more than you need, and progress will slow because that is a blockage. Anytime you're distracted into those things. Now, here's why it's super important and how you can stay ahead of blockages. Number 1, read my newsletter and ask questions. Every week, I give you lots of details and ideas and things to think about on this language facilitation journey. And you can use my workbook to journal your experiences. You can join a community of like-minded parents. I have one, the WhatsApp groups, there's Facebook groups, there's all these other things. But as long as they are like-minded parents and they're not telling you that you should go sign your kid up for therapy somewhere, That's what you need, is a group of like-minded parents. And then you can work with a facilitator, partner, mentor, or coach for accountability, idea sharing, and emotional support. These are the things that parents usually neglect getting for themselves, because without someone helping you keep accountable, someone giving you new ideas and emotional support, you will just exhaust yourself and burn out from these things. Okay. And this is why it's important that you stay connected with support, real people who understand this natural facilitation journey and won't try to talk you out of it. Okay, that's the most important thing. And here's some strategies to, when you do connect with these people, how to find out if they're really supportive and really able to help you, or they're some of those people that you need to spend less time with. And number one is to keep conversation on the current plan and progress. Stop talking about old symptoms. Stop Googling. Stop talking about old experiences when there was trauma and video time and COVID and all those things that caused you to detach from your kiddo and focus on other priorities. Forget about all that stuff, at least for the time being, and focus on your current plan and progress. Because I'm just going to tell you, the more you focus on what if it's this, and how did you do it with your kid, and what happened with yours, and how fast did your kid recover, and what did you feed them, and how much video time did they have, and all of those questions that you're trying to see, is it going to be better, is it going to be faster, it's all just a waste of time and a big blockage. And I'll tell you what, you're going to push the like-minded people, the people who would have good ideas and support for you, and invite you over for a play date with their kid. If you can't stop talking about these old things and in pointing out the symptoms and red flags that your child is still displaying as they migrate their way out of behavior into speech, you're going to lose these friends. They're not going to want to hang out with you anymore, because facilitators are forward focused. They're sharing ideas. They're talking about stuff that worked for them because it worked, and they're excited about sharing it. They're not, in fact, these parents who are working so hard and seeing things, they're exhausted by parents that are like, how did it work for you? And what did you do? And what did you say? And teach me this stuff. If you need that level of support, then you got to work with someone professional to coach you, someone who will bring you down off of that cliff edge where you're focusing on things that are taking you nowhere, and back into the reality of your life, and give you easy ways to reconnect and focus with your child and start to disconnect from even the ideas in your own mind. Right. But as long as you keep focused on the stuff that you can't change, your history and trauma and that stuff that you're feeling, and like I tell a lot of people, get over it. You have to get over it and move your child forward. Your child's brain is plastic like silly putty. If you want to keep them in old habits, then keep talking about old habits. But if you want them to evolve and move into new habits, it's up to you. It's up to you to share that with them. So stop talking about the old stuff. New video analysis every week to see how far your child's going, how much more you're talking. Analyze yourself to see how many fewer questions you're asking this week, and how much less you're prompting your child, because it sneaks in and you just have to keep track of yourself. That's the accountability I'm talking about. Identify and address blockages and mindset triggers. Oh no, she's judging me, but that's on her. Or they keep calling me from the therapy center and telling me that I'm going to lose my deposit, or this or that, or place in line, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is going to come to trigger you to see if you can work through it, right? And if you don't, watch a couple videos on my channel and learn strategies if you feel stuck. All of these things can come. If you work with me, this is what I will tell you to do. I'll tell you to really focus on what you can change. Okay. So, all of you out there, are you subscribed? Please stay connected. You'll get reminders in my videos and all of my newsletter and all of that, helpful tips. And this is where you go, wavesofcommunication.com. If you click the green button, you'll access my free get started guide. It really helps parents see how powerful you are. Plus, it also keeps you connected with me every week in my newsletter. You can respond to that newsletter anytime you have a question, and I can give you guidance about the next thing to do. And then this blue button up here at the top is how you work with me personally. There's a whole page of options to talk about how I work with families and what options I have, including consultation. So you can go straight to that page, wavesofcommunication.com // consultation. You can learn about the workshop plus consultation option, because I want you to be trained and try these things before you come work with me, because I want to take you to the next level in consultation. So there is this. You can work with me and find all the different ways for a short term, for a long term, however long you need support. And then if you're an independent learner, you can access my library and train yourself. You can look at the workshop videos. There's all kinds of 20 hours plus. They're uploading new ones all the time. Every time I do an amazing video here, I put it there in the community. You can watch them all ad free. There's worksheets. There's all kinds of things for you to make sure you're keeping yourself on track, while you're using the workbook. And if you really want to stay connected and ask questions that you get big coaching detailed response to, you can connect with other parents and me in my natural facilitation support community. You can ask as many questions as you want in the forum. If we get some more people joining over there, I might do live Q&As exclusively for that community. And then if you are in the process of hiring someone to work with your child, you want to be a co-facilitator with you. You want to be able, because you work full time and you want someone else to spend time with your child, you can hire them and put them through my facilitation certification course, and they can work with your child while they learn how to be a functional facilitator, work with you and your child. So please visit Waves of Communication, explore all the things in these buttons. Each one of them takes you to a different page where you can learn how I work with parents and help them find spoken language faster than speech therapy, and get you the functional results that you want, because there are things that you need for functional speech, and it's not toys, it's not speech therapy, it's not flashcards, it's not 50 hours every of extra ABA time. No, it's all things that you can provide yourself, but you're gonna have to really prioritize to fit this whole plan into your life. But this is the plan that's working, folks. It all depends how long your child's been late talking and what their root cause is as to how fast improvement happens with families. And again, usually those root causes have very little to do with how fast progress goes, because brains are plastic, and this natural facilitation method is how you activate your child's neuroplasticity to teach them the functional language they need so they can learn how to use it and share their wisdom, feelings, ideas, and everything else that's on their mind with the world, instead of detaching themselves out. So thank you so much for joining me, everybody. And like I said, be sure to like this video, and I'll see you again. Stay tuned to the channel for more content to remind you that you are the best facilitator for your child, and don't let anybody else tell you different. Just learn what you need and show them, prove it to them as you facilitate better spoken language every single day. You can do this. Thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate you, and bye for now.